Okay, hello everybody, Dr. Swan Montague, and I'm here online on Skype with Craig Pruess. Although we actually live 10 minutes apart and could be doing this in person, but there's flooding today, which might make it tricky getting to each other. So Craig has been a sacred musician for over 30 years, you were just telling me, and your first inspiration was 30 years ago. So maybe tell us a bit about your history, say hello, and then we'll talk about your current work.
Hi, everybody. Well, it's nice to be with Swan, working with Swan. It's funny, she's just down the road, but here we are talking on Skype. And it's a wet and rainy day in the Stroud area, Cotswolds, where we live. And very happy to talk about my background doing music and social activism in music, but particularly the sacred chants thread for me started in 1980. And I was very, very fortunate to be in the presence of some great masters. And there was a Vedic science course that was happening. Nobel Prize-winning scientists and Vedic scholars looking at the structure of physics and the Vedas. And every night when it started, the Samaveda would be chanted. And the first time I heard this, I couldn't move my hands. I was eyes closed. I felt it was the most powerful sound that I'd ever heard. And funny enough, the young pundit that was making this sound later became my spiritual master, Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, founder of the Art of Living Foundation. So it was in India, in Delhi, that I first heard this sound. And afterwards I pursued it, tried to find out more chanting, and I studied in earnest Indian classical music, the ragas of the ancient Indian, called Gandharva Ved. Gandharva Ved is the science of sound and music and how it can control and how it can affect the human emotions, the mind, and the environment. So this was a big inspiration for me. It planted the seed to start the sacred chants of Shiva in 1994. That's when I was training to be an art living teacher with Sri Sri Ravi Shankar. And from there, it just was a beautiful aspect of my music making that I'm very active to this day.
And currently you're working with the Gander Boys from Africa.
That's right. It's a beautiful second aspect to my work, which is social activism. And as a young man, 20 years old, I'd had the chance to travel in Africa, and I ended up staying for 2 years, working at the Conservatory of Music in Nairobi, Kenya, and studying Luo, Maasai music and Kikuyu music. So East African music really got into my blood then. Plus the landscape, climbing Kilimanjaro, Mount Kenya. I just loved the land. It ignited something deep in me. After many years of working as a second musician, arranger, and producer in London, and then becoming a film composer, it just naturally worked out that I became again involved with African music. Started the Gander Boys after a BBC project where I met two wonderful Ugandan singers. And 8 years have flashed by, and we've done concerts in 4 continents, working on our 4th album. And 10 days ago, we performed at the United Nations. It's been a wonderful journey, really. A lot to say about that.
Yeah. Well, let's hear more about the United Nations trips, because that was very exciting. I know you had Marianne Williamson, and it was sort of a post-electoral uniting effort, wasn't it?
That was the Washington, D.C. concert, which was actually, within 3 or 4 days, we had quite a bit of activity both in New York City and in Washington, D.C. And this, don't forget, this is the week of the election, the presidential election in the USA. So we flew in the eve of the election day, witnessed everything that was going on, and had meetings down at the United Nations with the High Commissioner for Refugees, UNHCR. And then we had an invitation. One of the reasons we traveled from the UK, we had an invitation from the president of the African Congress at the United Nations, who wanted us to perform our songs in recognition for the work we've done with refugees. And our song Forgotten People has been also nominated for Independent Music Award in the social action category. So it all tied in. The IMA event was at the Lincoln Center on Saturday. That was the 12th, and the 10th of November we performed at the United Nations. It was amazing to go in and see just the workings of the United Nations, the beautiful artwork. A lot of people don't realize there's incredible wall hangings and sculptures, paintings, acrylics, Buddhist stupas. It's a reminder of the richness of our world. And it's not only the politicians and the delegates of the UN that are working together, but of course the artists are enhancing this work, showing the unity of humanity. I was very privileged to be there. I was really surprised what an amazing building it is. So after we performed, and it was to a packed place, it was really quite joyful. We got them all singing, dancing, smiling, hugging. It's typical Ganda Boys music, which is a celebration of life, but our songs have a message. They have a message of celebration, belongingness, and we touch some of the social themes of not to exploit Africa, the other themes of attention to the refugees. Some of our songs really portray what it must be like to have to leave your ancestral homes and just walk hundreds of miles. And so there's a combination of the celebration but also the social activism. And this is a particular brand of the Ganda Boys music that I'm performing. So the three of us performed, and now they're arranging in June next year for us to perform with the big symphony orchestra, probably the New York Symphony Orchestra, and a choir to do a celebration and celebrate Uganda's amazing role in the refugee crisis. They're accepting refugees, giving them land. It's real inspiration for the rest of the world. Incredible. South Sudan, there's been a civil war. They're crossing over to the Ugandan border. And Uganda now has the 5th largest refugee population in the world. And Uganda is really being an inspiration to really other places that could show the same kind of human values and welcoming. So we're working with the ambassador of Uganda. We had many meetings with the High Commissioner for Refugees, and I feel that our message is starting to get through. Then we went down to Washington, D.C., where we shared the stage with Marianne Williamson, Ben Carson, some of the other politicians, authors, thinkers like yourself, Swan, and we really celebrated and just had the theme. Marianne said that we all must just put attention on where we go, not what happened. And there's a lot of anger in America. And she said we have to divert that really towards positive good. We have to see the positive outcomes of these political changes that we're seeing in the world. So it was a great concert. I really thank some of the key people that invited us.
Amazing work. It's such an exciting time. So your UN thing in June is June 2016 or 17?
2000, it has to be 2017 because 2016 has already passed. But if we had a time machine, we could do it. So it's going to be on World Refugee Day, June 21st, in the General Assembly Hall at the United Nations.
Fantastic. Well, I hope I can be there. Maybe I can provide, maybe I can create the temple. So we're going to be playing 3 of your pieces of music today. I've been listening to them for a long time, as you know, and I've had a great time going through all your CDs in the last few weeks. And the first one we're going to be listening to and watching is the Devi Prayer, to which I've made a series of images from my temple veil, the Aquarian cross, which is a mandala of all the religions coming together in oneness. And it was very interesting when I was making the video that I was color coding it so that it would take people through a series of sort of experiential emotions as the color changed. It changes a bit like soma therapy or a soma. Mm-hmm. And as it transpired, I knew exactly when I finished and got the right colors, and there were 33, which of course is the number of Christ consciousness. in sacred numerology. And every clip is 11 seconds, and the transitions are 5.5 seconds, and the whole thing comes to 11 minutes. So I was amazed and excited that it very easily and gracefully came together in a whole series of sacred numbers so that it becomes a transmission. And with that, the gorgeous sounds that you've created on the audio track. So tell us about the Devi Prayer.
The Devi Prayer came about through a collaboration with another art of living teacher. I've been working many, many years closely with Sri Sri Ravi Shankar. And a beautiful lady had a lot of devotion, deep devotion to the Divine Mother. And we'd been talking for some years about capturing the different chants that really honor the Divine Mother. And particularly Devi Prayer, it lists all the attributes of the Divine Mother. You know, the giver of prosperity, the giver of knowledge, the giver of knowledge of the self. You know, it's the Shakti element of Shiva, the feminine aspect of Prime Creator. And it goes very deep into the aspects of Mother Divine that really exalt our whole life. You know, it's a beautiful gift. So when we came to record this, it was a very beautiful experience, incredible experience. And really, at this time when we were recording, we had to stop at one time because the energy was so intense and there was so much love in the room, and like Mother Divine had come and blessed everything. And we just continued with our humble activity of capturing this. And we really felt it was such a blessing. I was lucky I was compos mentis enough to push the record button at that time. And the result is a song with no rhythm. And it's almost like it captures all the akasha, the space that is available to us all in deep states of meditation or attunement. And we just feel blessed we were there at that time to be instruments of the divine will.
It is really a very beautifully sacred piece of music and exquisitely divine feminine. And that's what drew me to it for this particular event. It felt like we need that divine mother energy really coming in and filling the world with grace and hope and love, divine love.
That's beautiful.
So thank you for that. So that's coming up next, and that will be 11 minutes. So if people want to get ready with headphones and enjoy that track, and I'll be back again with Craig a little bit later.